Hello, welcome back to school. This is going to be the last video pertaining to the major key signatures on the sharp side of the circle. We are 1/4 of the way through. This video and the last one, I should say the key, the F sharp and the C sharp are not used a lot in music compositions because they do have enharmonic equivalents, which uses less accidentals, and you'll see that when we get to the flat side of the major keys. So that's why they're not used. These videos are just to show you that these key signatures, they do exist in case you run across some weird piece of music that somebody decided, hey, I'm going to use the key of C sharp major for my composition. Yeah, they do exist, but most modern, even classical music, they're not used horribly a bunch. Like, they're rare. They are very rare. Okay, so as before, all the retaining sharps that we've already covered, we're keeping those. We're keeping F, which my poor staff is just getting all banged up. We're keeping C, we're keeping G, D, A, and E, which is good because I'm starting to run out of lines. And I'm not going to pull out my special chalk for one key. That's F, C, G, D, then A, then what comes after A? Oh, E. I used to know this stuff, trust me. Okay, so this is the key of F sharp major. Now again, we need to get to the key of C sharp. So again, I'm going to write the sharps underneath the notes. Otherwise, it's just going to be a pain in the butt to write everything. So this is sharp. The D is sharp. The E is sharp. The F is sharp. The G is also sharp. Pretty much every note is sharp. You need to put an A or La, and B and C, which is also sharp. Okay, so I'm going to go to the clavier and play these notes. In fact, I'm going to bring you with because I want to show you more about these enharmonics so you can see how they work. Okay, so we are trying to play a C sharp major scale, and all the notes are up there at the board. So here we have C sharp major as it is written thus far. So again, you got that funkiness up at the top. And this is the 7th degree. Now this is the pitch B or T, but we need to raise it up a semitone to this note. And again, people are going to say, oh, that's C natural. That is C natural. But in this particular key, this note is B sharp. Again, going back to the spelling rule. That I'd mentioned about the cat example. If the pitches are not spelled correctly, technically it's wrong. I think someone's revving their bike up downstairs. Just like when you spell the word cat, K-A-T, it's wrong. Children are going to get marked wrong because it's not how we spell cat. Okay, the guy across the street with his motorcycle turned it off. So again, this has to do with spelling. And as mentioned earlier, what is written on the page is going to take precedent over what, how you want to see it on the keyboard. So being able to look at the keyboard and look at, say in this example, a B sharp. Let's write that up here for our key. Where's my chalk? Here it is. So writing this as a B sharp, for both of these keys, and then putting your B sharp over here. This one, I don't know why that one is there. That one shouldn't be there. Being able to look at a B sharp and know how to get to that. It's just a semitone above a B. It's really not that difficult. That's the whole function of a sharp. It's just to raise whatever pitch you're on one semitone. That's it. It can't do anything other than raise the pitch. So that is basically the scales and keys of all the sharp side of the major key signatures. There's a whole slew of minor keys, and then there's the flat keys. I will be posting those in separate videos. But for now, if you were to look at just random pieces of music, let me find one here. I have no clue where that book is that I had. Hold on. What's this one here? Okay, so if I were to show you a key, oh, here's a good example. Maybe not the one you want to have off the top of your head. Oh, I found the other book I was looking for. Let's find a nice one. Okay. So if I were to show you this piece of music, flip it over. This is again looking at that music reading book. So if I were to show you, not that one, that key signature, would you be able to tell me what key this is in? If you said G major, you're correct. Let me look and see what other keys are in here. Yeah, if I showed you this key signature, would you be able to tell me what key this is in? If you said B major, you are correct. What if I showed you this key signature here. What key would this be in? Don't be worried about the numbers. If you said C major, you are correct. Let's look at some other examples in this book. What about this one? This is one of those enharmonic ones. If you said F sharp major, you are correct. Noticing that all of these are on the treble clef. Okay. Here's one in the bass clef. What key is this in? If you said B major, you are correct. Now those are the flats. We haven't covered the flats. Let me see. Okay, what about this one here? What key is this in? If you said F sharp major, you are correct. Where's that other book? There ought to be other keys than just those. Okay, here's one. What key is this in? If you said E major, you are correct. And we already covered that one. Let me see here. Okay, here's another one. What key is this in? If you said D major, you are correct. I'm not seeing any in the bass staff. Okay, here. What about this one here? Which key is this in? Again, if you said D major, you are correct. So, just looking at pieces of music, this is sight singing book. Looking at pieces of music, you can find examples of music. Look at the key signature and see if you can identify it. Now, there are a couple rules to deduce them. Like, you could just look, you could look at the first note or the last note of a piece, and it could tell you, obviously, if it's more complicated music, like an orchestra score or a piece of like modern music, you're gonna need to listen to the last, what's called a chord. But just being able to look at a piece of music and looking at the key signature and being able just to look at it and say, oh, that's D major, or that's G major, or that's B major, or in some weird case, that's F sharp major, or C sharp major. being able to find, being able to just know them cold turkey is where you want to be at. All of these skills that we're going through are basically the foundational building blocks of music reading. If you think of like grammar, before you learn to read and write books, not that you're writing books at 4 years old, but before you're learning to read books and write sentences and, you know, things like that, you have to learn phonics, and you have to learn, maybe not so much grammar, but a lot of listening and just taking in a lot of information. And the same is true with music. There's a lot of fundamentals that need to be learned, and from my experience, if they're learned in a group, like currently I'm teaching things in groups. I've taught the staff, I taught all the letters of the treble clef, I taught all the letters of the bass clef, I taught the extreme ends of the treble and bass clef, the ledger lines, you know, and now we're working through key signatures. Everything is being taught in groups. And as your musical literacy gets better, as you start to understand these things and work with them, you'll be able to pick up music and not be daunted by 6 flats or 7 sharps, because you know what that means. And so, yeah. So I think that concludes everything pertaining the major side of the circle. The sharp side of the key signatures. I heard something at the door. Next, we're going to go through the major key signatures on the flat side. And then we're going to have the minor key signatures. And after we get done with the key signatures, I would like to discuss the interval and possibly talk a little bit about chords after we talk about intervals. But again, all of this stuff pertaining to pitch is really, really critical. In the aspect of meter, like the time, rhythms and things like that, all of that's going to be broken up fairly similarly. So it's going to be a while yet before we venture into more. Well, it's just covering all the basic stuff, which is what I'm hoping. This is just to cover all the basic stuff, but not go like terribly too in-depth, but just enough to get people up and running with just learning music literacy. Okay, and this is music literacy, not like reading off chord charts or, you know, piano finger charts, things like that. That's something I'm noticing as a side note. The literacy in music, literature, just in general, it's just total decline. My music literacy is basically because I can't read the notes. That's something I cannot help. If I could read the notes, I would. I have a wealth of music that I would love to learn, but I can't read the notes. I can't see the notes to read the notes. But just in general, I'm noticing a lot of videos that will show overhead hands, or what do they call it, like synthesized music or whatever. I forget what it is, but it's where they got the piano keyboard and they got the little beams dropping down and it strikes the keys and it does all this kind of, you know, fancy stuff to attract the eye. That's not real literacy. That's just child's play. If you really want to be fluent in music literacy or literacy in general, you're going to have to do a lot of reading. And the reason that it's hard for a lot of people nowadays is because we have so much instantaneous gratification. You play a game, you get a little ding, and it's like, oh yay, you know, what else can I do? Whereas like true learning, it takes a lot of time and a lot of muscle energy from the brain. I mean, just taking, for example, the project of back to school. I have a high school diploma. No one's making me do what it is that I'm doing. But because I see that there's a great lack of knowledge in myself, I'm doing this because I want to. And I'm very, very grateful for teacher for what he's helped me with thus far and helping me, you know, through this. And he does say that over summer, he says things are going to change. I don't know what that means, but yeah, he says things are going to change. So, a little nervous about that. But for me, understanding that I have a lack of education in various areas, and it's not all me, like, it's not that I just didn't do it. I personally believe it's just the system. The system was set up to, it's basically, you know, it's set up to cause people to fail. And the people that do pass, that, you know, get the valedictorian and, you know, pass with high honors and all this other stuff, it's because they're really good about playing the game. But do they really have a deep understanding of this stuff that they're learning? Or are they just learning to pass a test and get, you know, that 4.0 GPA or whatever? So yeah, that's the long and short end of it. But literacy, music literacy, or even just literacy in general, yeah, you're gonna have to set aside time and invest in it, because you're not gonna get that back. All that, you know, keyboard playing, with, finger charts on the piano, chord charts to play pop songs, that's just, a lot of that, to be honest, is just outright trash. But if you were to actually invest in high quality music, even if it's by obscure composers like Rink, or, you know, or composers that you really don't care for, like Handel or Haydn. For instance, my Haydn sonata I had to play. I didn't care for him. I wasn't exposed to his music, so I don't know it. But you're going to get a lot more quality musical education from that stuff than you are from any pop song you're going to find off the internet, finding chord charts and lead sheets and things like that. I mean, lead sheets, which, for people who don't know, lead sheets are basically just, they give you the melody and they give you chords, chord symbols above it, like C major or G major, things like that. And a lot of these are with popular songs. That stuff could be good for learning improvisation. I can't say the word improvisation. I still can't say it. But that's what that's good for. But to actually be musically literate, you're going to need to go into the classical realm or really good classical, modern classical composers that compose in the style. But definitely going back to Bach, Beethoven, Chopin, Schumann, Brahms, you know, different composers of that realm. You're going to learn a lot. But the modern stuff, the chord charts, the follow my fingers, it's not going to work in the long run. I would say there is a set of videos. I don't know if it's on this channel or if it's on my other one, but there's a set of videos I found where the teacher is actually going through a technique book, and she is literally taking through all the exercises and showing you how to execute these exercises, not just the notes, but literally like wrist rotation or, you know, specific finger movement that you need to focus on for a specific mark in the music. That's okay. But if you're just listening to some, you know, pop song, follow me type stuff, and you're just watching the guy play the piano, and you're just, you know, looking at the letter names or, you know, chord charts and all this stuff, you're not going to really get very far. You're going to get instant gratification, but just like sweets and candy, you can't musically. That's a horrible diet. You're going to need to get into the meat, the potatoes, the vegetables, which is where your Bach, your Mozart, your Beethoven, Brahms, Chopin, all these great composers that people emulate, and being able to play them correctly, doing the research into, for instance, like with the metronome thing. There's a lot of stuff I found out about metronome, which we can talk about that later. But yeah, so just being able to, you know how to do research, know how to discern what could be not good versus what can be good. Listening to wiser teachers before you and knowing, you know, what they're saying, try to learn from them. Like, for instance, with me, when I was at the church, taking the instance with the Hanon, I told the church, the organ tuner, I says, yeah, I'm on, I don't know, I think it's like 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere around there. I says, yeah, I'm on, you know, X number in my Hanon book. He's like, oh, can you play it in A flat? Can you play it in D flat? Can you play it in F sharp major? Can you play it in A minor? Can you play it in, you know, G flat minor? You know, it's like, no, it's all written in the key of C. And he had wisdom. He had wisdom to cause me to go back through those exercises and take them not only just in the white keys only, but go through all the keys, as we've, you know, gone through the past several videos here. You know, going through all the keys and playing all those exercises in all the keys. You're going to learn a lot more, and you're going to get a lot more from Hanon than if you're just playing them all in the white key, you know, C major only. So I don't know why I went off onto that big spiel at the end there, but it is what it is. If you want to like, share, and subscribe, and ring the notification bell, please feel free to do so. The next chunk of videos will more than likely be the flat key signatures of the major, and then after that we're going to go through the minors. So, like, share, and subscribe, and yeah, ring the notification bell for all notifications.